Well, good morning. It's great to have everybody here. Feels great to be back in this spot, to be able to have our press conferences and be most of you in person, which is great. So I appreciate you being here. Just want to start by saying that I had a great finish to fall camp with our mock game on Saturday. It's something we traditionally do to be able to create game-like situations and game-like flow for our players and simulating, where we're going to be at on the field for everything that we do from start to finish, and then have a great practice of situational football in spiders. So that was really effective, I thought, and very good. And now ready to get into game week mode for our team. So just really appreciate our players' focus and effort throughout fall camp, and thought that's been very positive. Now we got to get ready for opportunity number one. I do want to announce our captains. We voted for those guys this weekend, and we actually have 6, and I think it's pretty indicative of this team. We just have a large number of guys. I think since I've been here, it's the most we've had in terms of getting double-digit votes by their teammates. Just a large group of guys, and even many that didn't get selected. We're close, and which kind of speaks to the depth of our leadership on this team, and a lot of guys that are respected and guys that were voted on by their teammates. Micah McFadden, Michael Penix, Cam Jones, Ty Fryfogle, Marcelino Ball, and Peyton Hendershot. We have 3 on offense, 3 on defense, and just really feel like it's a great group of young men that have been here for a while and have bought in, and have, as I went through and challenged our team when they were about to vote, and just gave 3 things we were looking for, and just talking about guys that you trust, guys that live out LEO, not perfect, nobody is, but guys that hold themselves accountable and hold their teammates accountable. So obviously, strong group of guys there that this team has voted as the captains for 2021. And then really want to say how excited we are to open our season at Iowa, and so much respect for Coach Ferentz and what he's built at Iowa for so many years, and the consistency and such a great program. Great opportunity for this program to play on the road there at Kinnick Stadium, and it's going to be a great atmosphere. It's great to have the fans back, and it's going to be a tough and challenging environment to be in, without question. And so, but just so much respect for their team as you go through and you evaluate them. I know everybody's in the same boat. You're looking at 2020 film and projecting some things personnel-wise and schematically, and everybody's in that same situation. But defensively, they're just so sound. Do such a great job up front, and how just disciplined they are. Physicality at the linebacker position and athleticism there, and then the secondary is really where their most experience lies, and so many different guys back there have played a lot of football, and they just don't make a lot of mistakes. They make you really have to execute at a high level, and then offensively just starts up front for them, and excellent running game, and a quarterback that I know that played some really good football, especially as the season progressed, and we expect him to take that growth opportunity, like we all did not have a previous spring, like he did not, and just a guy that highly talented individual that has a big time arm and a lot of weapons around him. They're always good at tight end, and that continues to be the case, and same at receiver. A lot of playmakers there, and special teams really jumps out. They were the number 1 special teams unit in the Big Ten last year overall, and we were actually number 2 overall. So that's going to play a big role in this game, and they're very talented in the return game and at their specialist position, and so a lot of respect for this program, and so we're going to have to play our best football. So excited for the opportunity. Questions?
Tom, we have talked a lot in the last couple of years about your own growth and maturity as a head coach, but last year with this program being in the national spotlight a lot and taking that next step as you would have preferred, this program target path, what have you from that helps you get ready for this 2021 season and what might lie ahead this year as well?
Yeah, I think that the thing that you learned is just the true value of staying true to the process, and how you get your team to perform, because it's all about consistent performance, and how do you get that, and whether that's through high expectations, low expectations, or everything in between, how do you get your team to perform? at a high level each and every week to be able to block out those distractions. And in the past, those distractions have been negative distractions, people telling you what you can't do and judging you based on your past. And then now you have to be able to block out the positive distractions, and maybe some people saying that they're expecting you to do more things than you've maybe done in the past. And you still have those that continue to doubt, but that's part of it. That's okay. But I think just understanding how to address that with your guys. I think you don't shy away from it. I don't think anything that's assumed and not addressed in both positive and negative situations, I don't think creates a very positive outcome. I think you need to address things. And so we've tried to address this and talk about it as a team, and being able to allow ourselves to consistently prepare at a high level. Because that's why Chase was chosen in 2021, the beginning there in January, because I wanted us to be able to elevate our program. And you don't just get better because you have a lot of guys back, and you got a lot of guys that are supposed to be playing at a certain level. It's what are you doing every single day. So I think it's just been a confirmation of how you do that. And I've been fortunate to be a lot of places that have, had been a part of turnarounds, and then you have success, and then you have to play to those standards. And so, not as necessarily as a college head coach, but definitely part of those staffs, and then in high school as well. So, just I think it's just people. It's leading a team. It's building a team, and those principles are consistent and the same no matter what the level is. But I think it's the discipline to be true to who you are every day, and not fall victim to listening to the outside noises that occasion. I think that to me is really the key to all this. And what time teaches you is to trust that, to not try to go out and reach for things that you think might be what they are. I think it's sometimes we overcomplicate situations, and it's not easy, but it's a simple process.
You've talked about this a little bit, even going as far back as maybe the spring, certainly media days, but with Ty, what were the conversations like with him when he was going through the process in terms of weighing up his decision, Ty Fryfogle, to stay or go? And I guess just kind of, to what degree did he vocalize, I suppose, recognizing what he could get out of coming back for another year in terms of saying, this is where I know I can get better if I come back, and this is where I want to aim, and this is kind of what I have in mind?
Yeah, I think for Ty, in his decision-making process, and we treated him like we did all the guys. We go through and we, have a chance to sit down with them. It was a little bit unique, I think, with Ty because if I just kind of would give you a transparent answer, it was like in the beginning, I felt pretty confident that he would probably come back. Then in the middle, I was like 50-50. I wasn't sure. And then at the end, I was like, you know what? I felt pretty, after meeting with him again, I felt pretty good that he had that decision made up, that he was going to return. And I think it's a healthy process to go through. And I think for him, he was from the very beginning pretty realistic about where he stood. He understood you kind of look at the, two areas. You look at the pool of guys that are going to be entering the draft and how that affects you and where you kind of fall within that group. And then you look at yourself and how much more do I have to grow and to improve. And so he looked at those two things and really felt from the beginning that it would probably be in his best interest to return. But the thing about Ty that I really, really love, and I mentioned it, I think last week, but, and I've come to the conclusion where if a young man kind of gets in his head that, it's time to move on, it's hard to kind of reprogram that back, and I've seen guys come back and they're worried about getting hurt and they're worried about this and they start pressing because they want to make more plays because this is, like, hey, came back for this, and they don't just let the game just, come to them, and they have a little bit different approach to practice, and I never sensed that from him. And it was full speed ahead every practice, never ever looking for, any veteran days off during spring ball or fall camp. I mean, just doesn't have any, that wasn't even part of his processing. You do a great job as a staff of taking care of him, and he's obviously earned the right to be able to have maybe some of those things, but he wasn't ever asking for them, never expected them. And I think that's a big deal. And he practices so hard. and he's physical and he's tough, and I've just been impressed. I mean, like I said, I've done this enough to see guys all different ways, and sometimes, like I said, when a guy comes back and doesn't have that right mindset, it's almost like he probably would have been better off if he would have moved ahead, because they're just not even as good a football player, because they got there by playing with an edge and playing just relentless in how they approach things, and that's how you got to play at this level. So, and that's how you have to prepare at this level. So I just think he's a mature young man, and like I said, he didn't. We laid the facts out, and like you said, Coach Hurd did a great job talking with him as well. But I think he knew from the beginning that it would probably be in his best interest to keep developing and have an opportunity. And obviously he has a close relationship with Michael Penix and obviously with Michael coming back. And so I think those things play variables as well, for him and his decision making. But really glad he was here with us another year, and he got voted as captain, which last year he wasn't a captain. And so it's a tremendous honor for him to be viewed that way by his teammates. And he's a very quiet leader without question, but within the receiver room and by his daily actions, his actions speak very, very loudly.
Tom, I know these depth charts we got on Mondays aren't exactly set in stone or anything, but Stephen Carr's at the top of it at running back. Are you, I guess, at this point ready to name him your opening day starting running back? If so, how did he win that? If not, where's competition still going? Are there any other positions that you feel like you've made a decision at?
Yeah, I think for him at that position, it became pretty obvious. There's no doubt. He came here new, and he had to earn that, and I believe that he has. And so, but we're going to play a lot of guys that position. Always have, always will. But he will be the starter for game one, and I feel like that once again it was really from day one. He came here with zero entitlement at all. Know he had to earn the spot, ready to work, total team guy, not just in his words definitely were that way, but his actions. And that's what I look for, and just body language and just how hard does he practice and how hard does he work on special teams and during those drills and those things that we ask him to do in those areas, So, but a room that we really are excited about. And he's, elevated himself within that room and love how he practices, just even watching him, during our last couple of days, we've been going with some spider practices and just going full speed and finishing runs out. And so, that's what you want. And all the guys, and that's the standard that Coach McCullough has set in that room. So, but excited for him and feel like that he is a guy. And I think that, even in that room and on the offensive side of the football, everybody would agree that he's earned it.
We've seen Mike, during camp. Obviously, he's still full go. And how has he looked the last week? And then also, how are David Ellis and CO doing? Are they ready to go also?
Yeah, so I would say that really encouraged with Michael's progress, and I know we've talked about him for the last several months, and probably every time I've spoken, I've gotten a question about him. And understandably so. But I think that, all along it's always been about just constant progress, constant working for him. And matter of fact, met with him this past weekend and met with several different guys and for different reasons. And he and I talked about that, and I really compliment him on his just, buying into that process. I know how hard it is. You're going through fall camp. Fall camp's hard, and, he's doing more than he's ever done in regards to every time we had a special teams period or a different type of period. He was always with the training staff doing extra work, doing with our both weight room staff as well as our medical guys, just doing rehab and strengthening and conditioning and just doing extra things, and did that all fall camp. But even did last week, So he bought into that. He understood that was part of it. It was a constant process to get him ready for September 4th. And so very encouraged by his progress, and he's right where we hoped he would be. And he's, 100% ready to be the starter on Saturday. And so that's great. And then David Ellis is still progressing. So I would say just continuing to monitor that. And every day, we got several days now to get him in that position. So hopeful, but you never know. And then CO has been cleared, and so he's ready to go. And he'll be with us tomorrow out there at practice. So there's going to be guys that are working through some things, and which is always the case. Even this time of year, even though you haven't played a game yet, and we got a few guys in that mode. So the guys are ready. They're going to play. If not, next man up.
Tom, have you used much of the extra time to look at Iowa, and what are your takeaways of that team right now?
Yeah, a lot of time to watch them. Like you said, all three phases impressive. Just they you have to physically beat them. They don't beat themselves very often. And that's a key thing. If you think about just the fundamentals of this game, when you think about how they have long-term success in a program, and there's a toughness to their program that sticks out. And that's a key to long-term success. And special teams play sticks out, and that's a key to long-term success and consistent performance. And they do a great job in that area. Very well coached. Don't make a lot of mistakes. You run the football well. You stop the run. That makes it tough on teams. They don't give up a lot of explosive plays schematically and by their discipline on defense. And so that's another. So a lot of things all kind of add to the reason why they're good every year. And so that's something that you look at in their player development. They get guys that kind of have prototypical guys at each spot. Per their height and weight, different numbers maybe every year, but similar results. And so that's just a sign of a consistency there, and a program that's been in place for a long time, a staff that's been in place for a long time. So that's why a lot of respect from my perspective, as the head coach at Indiana, and what we're attempting to build here every single year, and have a consistency that no matter, who's out there each given year, they play at a certain standard, and that's what you see from them. So there's a reason why they're, some are picking them to win the West, and that's kind of seemed that way every year. They're always in that conversation. So hats off to them, and so we got to be able to, going to play really good.
So just a two-part question, if you don't mind my asking. So first, you talked a little bit about, attention on the program earlier. Do you enjoy that? Is this different than anything you've handled in the past? And then have former players reached out to you at all kind of ahead of the season, just with any messages at all coming into it?
Yeah, I would say there's been a lot of messages, a lot of excitement within our alumni base about our program and where we are and the direction that we're going. So, yeah, that's been super awesome to have that. Appreciate their engagement and their excitement. Guys that, Vaughn Dunbar is a young man that came by, last weekend, and I knew who he was. He's a year older than me. Knew him out of high school and comes here, but never met him before. And so just a great player here without question. But just to hear him talk about, the program and how excited he is, and got a chance to see the facilities. He hadn't been back in a while, and just talked about, man, would love to be able to be here at this time and be a part of what's going on, and then just even the locker room, the way it looks, is so different than when he played, and even the way the stadium looks and feels. And so just hats off to our administration for what they've invested in football. So guys like that, but yeah, it's there's definitely a lot of that, and that's awesome. But yeah, the expectations are what they are. Like we said in the beginning, we came here with a vision to be able to change the expectations and create belief, and that process is ongoing, and so yeah, we're embracing it. And but you got, like you said, you got to be able to have those, earmuffs and blinders. That part doesn't change, and to be able to create the focus that you want to be able to be an elite performer on game day.
Coach, in a sport where interceptions have become less and less, fewer of them, I guess you'd say, whether it's because of the pace of the play or shorter passes, your team was very good at that last year. Why do you think that was, and how do you try and teach those kids the ball skills?
Well, I think you get what you emphasize. We emphasize so much about takeaways. And we have three. We call it our DNA on defense, and we have a DNA for offense, defense, and special teams. So the DNA on defense is takeaways, tackling, and effort, and takeaways is the very first one. It's been that way since I've been here, and I believe in that. And so we just work on it. If you come to our practice, they're going to be doing something with takeaways every single day. We say we install that mindset every single day, and there's multiple layers to it. There's the pressure up front that you have to use to create those opportunities, and quarterbacks. If they have time to throw and they get in rhythm and they can step up into their throws and, do that on time, they're hard to get. But if you can get them off their spot, you can get them to move around, you can make them feel uncomfortable mentally and physically. So it's affecting the quarterback. That's a big variable. And it's the pressure up front, which affects the quarterback. And then the mental affecting of the quarterback is how well you can disguise, your coverages and the things that you're doing in the back end. And then there's ball skills. You got to catch the ball. And so we're working on ball skills every day. And I tell them, I said, they're not on defense because they can't catch. They're on defense because they're great athletes, and they can, create the takeaway. And we say they are created. They don't just happen by chance. And so I get it. Certain years you get more than others, and there's been years where we've worked on them, and we don't ever work on them any less. But definitely those were, and I'll take them any way we can get them, whether they're fumbles or interceptions. We just want to get the ball from the offense and give it to our offense. And so I just think that there's a lot of reasons for us creating those, and they're big. It's how you win football games. You got to protect it on offense, and you got to be able to create the takeaways on defense.
Coach, Micah McFadden and Ty Fryfogle, they're your captains. They're All-Americans. They were also probably the lowest-rated recruits in their respective classes. How were they so undiscovered in recruits, and what have been the keys for them to take that step?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably, it's a great question to ask as far as how were they not given more recognition in high school. I guess there's a lot of reasons for that. You got a guy like Micah who did play in a high-profile high school program. The benefit that I had was, my son played with him, so I got to watch him practice. When I was at South Florida, the way everything worked in regards to my schedule, I had the Tampa Bay area as my recruiting area. And so that was one unique thing. I never left the state to recruit. I really hardly never left, for recruiting for my area. I didn't really recruit. I didn't leave the Tampa Bay area. So, and they practiced actually at night. And so what I would do is I would go and I would do mine because I was a dad. I was allowed to be there as much as I wanted to be. And so literally they would, I would go do my recruiting during the springtime as the DC there. And then I would go at night and sit up on the press box with their video guy and watch practice, And so just got to see him play a lot. And I thought he was a really good player. And I was actually shocked that he didn't get more highly recruited. And but I will say this, he was a guy that, probably, so my first year that Thomas was there, he wasn't, getting to play that much, and which is maybe a little unusual for a guy that goes on to be what he's become for sure. And so, but then Thomas's senior year, which would have been Micah's junior year, it started to click for him. And what I noticed him on was special teams. I mean, that's where that's where I noticed just the nose for the ball, covering kicks, covering punts. And I think and I learned that from Coach Dullahan years ago. There's two sides to that. So he used to always tell me that if you want to find out who your good running backs are, and we did this with our sophomores when they came to the varsity for the first time at Ben Davis, we just kicking the ball and just see how they handle making people miss, and the same way on covering kicks. You find out who your linebackers and your safeties are by who can cover kicks. And so I would say that was I've never forgot that, and so I'd watch him on special teams, and you could just see who's got a knack to get to the guy with the ball. And so that's why I say it's a simple game. So if you got the ball in your hands, you got to make guys miss and go score. On defense, you got to find the guys that got the football and get them on the ground, and I thought Mike had a knack for that, So, and then he just kept playing. He just played better and better. And so, but still, he never got he's probably maybe a little undersized, and so, but, I didn't care. I knew he was good, and we went ahead and pulled the trigger on him and never wavered with it. And then with Ty, he's from a really small high school, and South Mississippi. Not a lot of people go down there to watch him. And Coach Hurd had a chance to, watch him, have him in camp when he was at Ole Miss, and so he believed in him. Even though he, once again, was not a highly recruited, ranked guy. And so, and he took a little longer when he got here to kind of figure some things out, but always had really good ball skills and just kept getting stronger and faster. So I just think sometimes it's just a matter of having that gut, where you think a kid's got something to him. But you say both of them are tough guys. Both of them are actually pretty quiet, and they love to work. So I think you kind of get those core things you look for in guys, and they fit with us character-wise, and got to know their families and believe they were really high-quality young men that they were going to come here and do everything we asked them to do. And then they just bought in and they took off. So I guess it's a great story. It's a great testament to these young men and how hard they've been willing to work, and to our coaching staff to kind of know some key things you want to look for in a young man. And when you find that, you trust your evaluation, and you have to, kind of not be, fall victim to the recruiting rankings. Sometimes they're right, sometimes they're not. But, recruiting is not an exact science. I mean, anybody that acts like they got it figured out, they're not being honest. It's hard to project sometimes, but you just got to trust your gut and press on.
Tom, my understanding is that the rules this year
allowed you to only have 9 practices where you could tackle. How much of a factor do you think that is going into the first game especially, and what might your biggest concern going into the first game be?
Yeah, interestingly enough, when you looked at those rules, we went back and looked at our last 2 years of practice, and we did not have to modify anything to meet the standards for those requirements. We've only ever had 2 full scrimmages since I've been here, in regards to where you had, whole time of just live tackling in the scrimmage situation. And then the number of practices that we had that were considered tackle practices and portions of that. So the good news is, I think I'd become a believer in that, try to keep guys up, keep guys healthy. We try to emphasize tackling, either bags or, tackling sleds or whatever things different mechanisms you can use to, especially last year, we were trying to even do that because of COVID and trying to eliminate the, individual contacts of guys when we were kind of in the beginning stages of trying to figure out COVID. But even 2019, we kind of had this similar. So I feel good about that, but I think you always are going to find that week 1 tackling is always, a little bit of a concern. I think you always worry about that. Especially when you're playing such a good running back and then some receivers that have some escapability on their team. But hopefully on our side, we got that same benefit as well against them. So I think that you just got to work on as much as you can. And within the rules that you got, like I said, I feel good about what we were able to do compared to what we've done in the past. But to me, hopefully because we have more guys that have played. I remember 2 years ago when this group was playing in 2019, our first game of the season, we had way too many missed tackles in that first game there in Lucas Oil Stadium. And so, but I remember Michael was one of them, had a lot of missed tackles. So, he was younger then, 2 years younger for sure. But hopefully the experience and the reps and all the things we've done, but we've worked so hard to try and within those rules of, because you got to be, when the second DNA that we talk about on defense after takeaways is tackling. We want to be the best tackling team in America, and so we've just got to keep working on it, and we will continue to do that because we won't live tackle the rest of the season except on game day.
Couple, I guess, kind of a double-barrel question. First of all, did you ever find out the origin of Jaron Handy's nickname, Stone, and kind of attached onto that with him and Ryder? We've asked you a lot about him going back to when they came into the program, but now as the rubber meets the road, you start thinking about actual game plans and where they fit in. What are those two guys going to bring your defensive line that maybe either it didn't have or maybe it didn't have enough of, I guess, last season?
Yeah, I think first of all, the maturity and leadership of Ryder is what sticks out. The physical maturity. He's a big man, not only tall, but just he's thick and strong. And I think he's provided what I hoped he would when he came here, and that was to a position group that did not have a lot of strong leadership in terms of just guys that were confident to speak. A lot of good guys, but not them that are willing to speak up. And for him to come in here and with a new team now, it helped that he came in January. But so he's provided that, and then just steady play. Just consistency and understanding football. And I just hope the hope is that he just elevates that room, and I think we've seen that in their preparation, but obviously it matters what they do on game day. And then as far as with Stone, it's just an athleticism, that he has naturally. We actually had them by position groups come to our house over the summer. And so we had the whole D-line over there, and we're playing basketball there in our driveway. And fortunately, we purchased one of those, I think it's a Gorilla basketball. So it's very sturdy, I guess that's my point, with like a breakaway rim. Because if we had not, he would have completely destroyed our basketball hoop, the way he dunked the ball so violently and athletically multiple times. And so our goal survived, but I left there just kind of like, whoa, that's different, And so, but he's still young and just trying to, learn a system, and it's new for him and everything. So, but I think that's, rushing the passer with both those guys is what you want them to bring, stopping the run, being physical guys, and they got length. Both of them are tall and long, and Stone definitely the really athleticism is what sticks out when you see him play. So that's something that we need, in this program. We just talk about being able to affect the quarterback. That's the number one job that you want to do defensively, and being able to physically do that. So that's really where those guys, I need them to just keep buying in and playing hard and practicing hard and getting better every single week.
Hey, Tom, kind of a two-parter, both about Penix. You'd mentioned the extra work for him he's been doing. Does that continue leading up to Saturday, or does he have a normal workload now? And then part two is, I'm wondering, I don't know how this works with naming him, announcing him the starter. I know it's kind of been assumed all along he'd be ready, but until he's ready, he's not ready. So was there ever a moment in practice or in the locker room where you announced the team Michael starting, or just kind of let it go?
Yeah, I would say more let it go. We definitely didn't announce it. I guess that to answer your question, though, which is a good question about the process that you go through. There was the expectation that he would be ready, but he had to get ready, So, and he's done that, and so he will be the starter on Saturday. And so that was the expectation from the beginning. If he did what he was supposed to do, and now there's no doubt it could have not been the case, based on if things didn't go the way you want them to, or whatever happens along the process. So there's no guarantees with that. But as far as naming it for the team, we never really had to say that, And so, but at the same time, we've had opportunities for Jack to take reps with the ones, which he's done that consistently throughout camp, and to make sure both guys are ready, and then obviously getting, Donovan McCulley ready as well, just because you got three guys there that I believe all have special skill sets. So, bottom line is that Michael's been doing a great job in the things we've asked. And then to your question about throughout the season, it's more of a maintenance part of that, So in fall camp, there's a lot of conditioning emphasis and doing specific things to continue to rehab. So the rehab part of it, I think the maintenance part, just like any other guy that's injured, you go through that. But from a conditioning perspective, no, won't be doing those extra things. But you just continue to maintain the exercise that you do. We do things, a lot of guys have that they do. Oftentimes that happens pre-practice and post-practice, which will be the same case with him, and more of that probably than during practice. So, but that will be a continuous part of his process, like even other guys are coming back from either ACL surgeries or either, with Thomas and his hip surgery, he has things he has to keep doing and will continue to do throughout the season.
All right, thanks, Tom.
Awesome. Have a great day. Elio.